Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the TheCivShow podcast. We suck, so you don't have to. I'm your host, Moisauce.
Raising Zozo.
Miss Agnes.
And we have an interesting show for you today. We have a summary and analysis of Community Day. We're going to be talking about Shuffle Mode, if we really, really like it, or if we don't. And then we're going to take some community questions. So, let's get right into the news and talk about the Community Day. Well, how did you guys feel about it? Did you like it? Did you have fun? I guess I should
got eliminated.
You got eliminated. Yeah, you got eliminated. That's the first time that's ever been like a domination elimination.
First elimination in the TheCivShow. Yay!
Oh, I think that's true.
I think that's true. Yeah.
By the way, it totally surprised me that Civilization does not have a spectator mode. Developers, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. That way, I can still commentate on the game and be in the game instead of watching the stream. But
yeah, they've been bugged about. They've finally added a spectator mode to Red Death. Does that count? I don't know if that really counts.
No, I'm not going to count it. Red Death is not Civ.
No, Red Death is definitely not. Definitely not Civ. Okay, I see the problem. I apologize. There we go. Okay. So to kind of give a summary, it was 2v2v2. We each had a community member assigned, I'm going to say, but teamed up. We teamed up with a community member. I was teamed up with the Sharksta, and we played Russia and China. You guys can go and introduce your own civs as well.
I was teamed up with the mighty Vector Cat, and we played Gran Colombia and Australia.
Yeah, and I played Germany, and I was teamed up with Luminescent Ruby, and she played Scotland. And yes, ES Champ, I got eliminated. So within the span of about 10 turns. And so, yes, it wasn't my most shining example of play, but it had to happen to someone first, and let's all agree that I was probably the most likely person that would happen to first on the show. So
let's talk about
no surprises there.
Let's talk about even the strategies that were involved. So like, I know for myself, me and Sharkster, like we planned out who we were gonna play, who we thought you guys were gonna play, and if our civs that we picked countered those civs that were involved. I don't know if you guys kind of had similar conversations with your teammates.
No,
I told you guys already. Like our conversation was just, "What's your favorite civ? What's your favorite civ?" And we just chose our three favorite and kind of alternated them so we would at least get one of them.
That's a way to do it.
Yeah. We had a discussion. We didn't like super go too deep into what that you would choose. We just went with what we assumed wouldn't get back to us. Like our original best pick would have been Gran Colombia and Germany. And then we ranked it and said this, then this, then this, then this. So we got our number 3, which was Australia. So it would have worked well had it not been for the following.
There we go. Okay.
I'll give you a rant. I will give you a rant. I know how much everyone loves a good Zo rant.
My ears are ready. I've been waiting for this all week.
Obviously,
yes.
So obviously, with myself and Vector Cat choosing Australia and Gran Colombia, we had the strategy of domination victory on our minds. We wanted to move swiftly and brutally, and we wanted to conquer. And everything was going great until, oh darn, apocalypse mode. So I made it.
Whose idea was that?
Hey, I'm aware. Hey, I'm aware. I claim ignorance. It was just a silly oversight that I did not anticipate how brutally effective Russians with soothsayers are. Effectively, Russia's immune to invasion, in my opinion, because most of Russia, and in that game, your 3 big cities were all nice and deeply in the tundra.
Oh yeah.
Once that was revealed, because Vector Cat launched his attack, and we made it look like a show, like a skit. That I was up in arms. This is terrible. You warmonger. no, we planned on, we wanted to swiftly move in, and I think if it was not apocalypse mode, he would have overrun you relatively quickly. However, a blizzard, for those of you maybe not aware, has 100% chance to do between 40 and 60 hit points of damage.
And in Russia, it's 100% amplified, so it's 100%
and it
chance
gets
to do
doubled.
80 to 120 points of
Yeah.
damage.
So essentially, and because blizzards last 2 or 3 turns, and they can leave your area, they don't have to stay in the tundra. They wander about, okay? And his units, only his, I believe your civilian units could still be affected. So essentially, when that was revealed, we're in a situation that is like a little tear, because like, oh great, so that's not going to work. And because China and Russia were side by side, which we were playing inland sea, that's a huge strategic advantage. That means that there's one flank they don't have to worry about. And on China's other flank was Scotland, and Scotland had no interest in a military game that round. I know, because my armies came in, and I think 10 turns later, I had seized the capital.
Poor Ruby.
So what ended up happening was the perfect storm, where China and Russia could just sit back. Russia did what a smart Russia should do: Aurora and work ethic. He had these beautiful lavras that were on top of producing all of the other crap they do. Were like 14 production, 14 faith. So everything he needed to just sit back, enjoy the snow, while China builds wonder after wonder after wonder. So we had to turn on the other two, and unfortunately, Germany and Scotland, they were not ready for a fight. In fact, so not ready for a fight, Nystagmus had a brilliant spot that he built this city that like pretty much cut me off from the rest of the world, right? But he decided to build a campus instead of a barracks, which I would have laid that to him, but I had some audio issues, so I couldn't let him know. So after that city fell, between myself and Vector Cat, we just swarmed in.
I was planning to build a barracks there because I have an extra district. It's just I needed to catch up in science because I was way behind.
You know what? I think in that game, though, because of the shuffle, science became a lot less important.
It did, but
in hindsight, it was a dumb district to build first. But and I built it first because you were already at war with Moy. So
so you thought you were safe.
And then I also thought that Moy soothsayed me, because I had a massive blizzard run through my capital, and my capital
far away from me, man.
You can't. Russia figured out a way to send blizzards across the globe.
I don't know, maybe. I did have a blizzard that my city was like population 10, and it came by and it reduced it to 4, and all my districts were destroyed.
Oh wow.
And I was moving my army to the other city I built, and so half of them died. So,
man.
So yeah, I thought that it was a really strong blizzard, so I assumed that maybe like a soothsayer did it. But maybe it was apocalypse mode too, right?
Well, because I think
didn't do it.
Apocalypse increases the intensity to 4, so it may actually do more damage. But yeah, the game ended up like my ability for +1 movement effectively didn't really matter.
Really?
Well, it mattered for Moy and definitely for conquering Scotland and Germany. It was helpful, but you guys are just so far away, and because of the way of the nature of the water, like just sending troops was very impractical. So it created this. You guys were in this perfect harbor of Turtle Town. That you could just sit back, not worry about the rest of us. So yeah, I think by the end of the game, it was clear, like around 11, it's like, okay, like this game could go on, because we weren't even in the industrial era.
No,
but I think that you guys had such a huge lead, and you had such stability. And myself and Vector Cat, like, we weren't building tons of infrastructure. We went for domination, and it didn't work out. So yeah, I think if it wasn't for apocalypse mode, would have been a very different story.
Would have been a very different story. Very different story.
But it is what it is, and it was what it was, and my winning streak was brought to a frozen cold standstill.
Isn't that like kind of historically accurate though, right?
I guess we invaded
Russia in the winter.
Yeah, we went.
There's only one exception to that rule, like about invading Russia in the winter, and that's if you're the Mongols.
Unless you're the Mongols.
The Mongols were able to conquer Russia in the winter.
Huh.
Yeah, you just have to be smart about it.
Yeah, they wouldn't have conquered me that game, that's for sure. Because those blizzards hurt. Oh my god!
The other two major powers that did it like not smart. So
when I saw, like, I was heartbroken. I was taken aback.
Did you hear my evil laugh? That was legitimate. Like, that was a hearty, like, evil laugh. Like, yeah, you better eat shit.
It was so devastating. It was so devastating. Finding that, because it was like, okay, like I knew right then, I was like, we lost this game. We can't invade Russia, and China is beside them. We can't. There's nothing we can do here. So, like, obviously within, I think, like, 4 turns, we declared war on the other two, and then we all
checking
saw
out the
what
conversation ES Champ and Sharks are having in chat. They're always like talking about how like I got a bad hand. Like he's always stuck behind Zoe or trapped with Moy or some other thing, and then Sharks just says, or hit by
comments. I think it's fair to say though that, like, obviously going into, if we play apocalypse mode in the future, you know, now I'm aware, like, yeah, like either we say no Russia, no Japan, because anyone that's immune to that's just too much, unfortunately.
Japan would be harder to like time the hurricanes though, right?
You can't start a hurricane with a soothsayer. That's
I think Japan would be okay.
Yeah, Japan would be okay. It's just
maybe I got hit by at least 2 hurricanes.
Those are naturally occurring. So I can't send a soothsayer into the water and then start a hurricane.
Okay, I wasn't sure, and I don't know if there's anyone else that's immune. I don't know if anyone's immune to desert storms.
Not to my
sandstorms.
knowledge.
Not to my knowledge either.
I think so. Maybe someone is. Not the Mali. I know that.
Not Egypt either.
Not Egypt
or Nubia.
Maybe Saudi Arabia might be immune.
No,
I think no. So yeah, it might just be a future thing. No Russia. Unfortunately,
big brain, 200 IQ. You couldn't even handle the amount of neurons that were going through my brain. I was like, oh,
yeah, it was crazy. And like Moy didn't have to worry about science or anything. Like, and his science was low. But I knew, like, if he wanted to do science like that,
so
he would have gone from nothing to 200 in no time.
Funny story about that. So I went obviously full religion, right? So I built Lavra in almost, not every city, but almost every city. And I built, if you can maybe believe this if you want to, but I built a total of 1 campus that whole game.
I believe it.
And I had the most science still at the end of that game. Mainly because, though, however, my religion gave me +1 science for every 4 followers. So I had a lot of followers. I converted Australia. I converted my own cities. And then at the end of the game, I was converting China's cities because China got their own religion too, just so that we can kind of have our both our benefits. But then I started converting cities, and I had a lot of science without building any campuses. I'm like, man, religion can be pretty good.
That's the thing too with your blizzards. They kill civilian units, so you can stop rock bands. You can stop.
I don't know if it goes that far.
It's a smaller chance though. I think it's like a 20% chance to kill. So maybe that's 40 because they double it. I don't know. Percent chance to kill civilian units. And by that point in the game, you probably have enough faith that you're just like, yeah, sure, I'll just keep spamming it. So yeah, that game was rough. Inland Sea is a hard map.
It is. I agree with you. It's very difficult.
If we had each started beside our ally, it might have been different. Or if we had started, even if it was the alternating, like if China was in between, didn't have the that it might have been different. Unfortunately, it's just too much.
With how many people we had, though, I think no matter what, we would have to be someone would have to be beside their ally.
it's possible that two people could be, or that we were alternating,
or no one
because there's
decided
6
to allocate.
locations.
No, only,
Yeah, it could have
actually,
been.
wait. If me and Moy switch places, then it would have been
Yeah.
alternating.
Yeah, so it's possible. It's just random.
The only
So-
way you can achieve something like that though is through a modded map. So you
Right.
can actually have it where teams kind of start closer together. It skews it, but
Right.
it needs to be a modded map. I know how you feel about it, so I
Now,
don't know.
I would say if we were worried about flooding in the future, just do the lakes one instead of the inland sea, which would solve the problem with the rising water.
Hey, I'm gonna just pull the roster from the friends. Be like, hey man, the map was good. Don't blame the map. That was my choice. Don't blame the map. Don't blame the questions.
But no, you guys, this Sharkster and Moy, you put up a fantastic, perfectly played game. You even beat me. I cut down all my trees to try and get the Great Bath. Vector Cat and I were like, "Oh, we're gonna try and counter their strategy." I did not think, like, Vector Cat claimed that with Australia he could have gotten Aurora and work ethic before Russia. I'm like, there's no way. Russia right off the bat is getting Faith.
Yeah,
there's no way that
there's no way you
could
get
beat them.
Aurora, but you could
No
he
way.
could have beat me to a
Maybe
to a
work
he could have
ethic,
beat me to a religion.
maybe.
It was the second
Maybe.
last technology that I discovered was astrology, and I was freaking out. This is the whole shuffle mode thing, which we'll
Right,
get into the second.
right.
half. I was like, oh my god, I might not get this religion. I might not get this religion. I was freaking out, but I got it.
But I will give a shout out to Vector Cat. Represent. That was I think for the situation, I think we did very, very well, all things considered. We had big armies. We tried to conquer. We conquered those we could, and I think we did well on that.
I think you did well too. Let's take a break, and then when we come back, we're going to be giving our opinions again. Now that we all have experience with it, opinions on shuffle mode, opinions again on apocalypse mode, because it's the first time that we revisited apocalypse mode in a long time. And we're going to have a special treats for the 3 people that were participating in the community day. So Sharkster, Ruby, and Vector Cat, if you're here, stay in the chat because we have something special for you guys. Don't go anywhere because we will be right back.
So special. Shuffle, shuffle, shuffle. If you're not there, you'd better be. No. Let's open, guys, with shuffle mode. You know what? It really felt like if you're not there, you better be dead, because like holy hard. Like it's fun, but hard. It's a really hard way to play Civ. You know, there's the random chance that you'll get political philosophy, you know, right off the bat, like right as your second choice.
We got pretty quick, right?
But there's also a chance that you don't get, I don't know, something like military science at all. So if you're a Civ that is sort of depending on something like military science for your Lunaro unit, you're not getting it. So it is a really fascinating game mode. And I'd say that it's probably 50-50 for advantage, disadvantage. I found it really frustrating to get the like I didn't even get to my special unit, and like Grand Columbia has to get that unit. They have to get it. It has a critical point where you need it, and then it's an amazing unit because it's +4 combat strength for each of the ones adjacent to the unit you're attacking, and they get another bonus for having the general, and they have that if you activate the general, they all heal. So it's like this critical unit, and I couldn't get to it. It was not an option. It wasn't even in the next bracket out. So I don't know. Yeah. I don't know if you guys found that, because you can. I think it'll let you see ahead one tech, or one of the tree.
Once you have the prerequisite, then it's
once you have the pre. Yeah. So yeah, like I know Russia had the issue that they weren't getting the faith.
Yeah, I couldn't find it. Oh, that was
couldn't
tough.
Get it.
That was tough.
And I was having the same thing. Was not able to unlock things quickly enough. So while it adds a really interesting component to the game, it also makes civs that need to get things quickly like very hard to play. Unless you get lucky and you get it right away, you know, which I'd be strumming a different song if I was able to get it right away.
Yeah.
How did you guys feel about the shuffle and?
Go ahead. I feel like it was last, so go ahead.
I kind of have the same kind of opinion too. Like I think it adds like a cool dimension to the game. Obviously though, it all depends on. I would say it depends on your how adverse you are to randomness, right? Like if you're a pretty like strict player who likes to do certain things in a certain order and stuff like that, it's going to completely throw off your game, and you're not going to like it very much. And so if you're more comfortable with like, I don't really care, it's random stuff and it makes it more interesting and I have to adapt a little bit more, then you'll like it a lot more because it adds that dimension to the game. And so obviously I think like professionally, like for like the CPL and stuff, they're probably not going to like it all that much. But for like the casual gamer, I think it adds that extra dimension to kind of, it makes each game different, right? Like even each game with the same civ different, right? And so it makes you adapt a little bit more. And so from my perspective, I thought it was really cool. You can't just like go like, okay, let's rush for computers, whatever. Now, if we were playing on another map where like I got halfway flooded,
that would have been so maybe we didn't even get past the first stage of we never unlocked like anything to even pollute the thing other than
someone was polluting with soothsayers somewhere.
Someone was spamming blizzards or something.
I was forced my hand.
So I do think it comes with that kind of extra dimension. So I think it's a cool idea. Like I like it as an option, right? Like it's a cool option. I think
it's like it's good for like lengthy games. So for a one-off like community day, it's tough because you have only 5 hours to execute a very specific plan, and if like even one thing goes wrong, it can really alter how you play the game.
You guys had a plan?
Sort of.
You guys had a plan? You planned it out? Like
we kind of did. Like I know Sharkster came to me. He's like, dude, I have this amazing build order with China. This is great. I'm gonna go build there, and then I'm gonna go Great Bath. I'm not even gonna build the settler. I'm like, dude, that's bold. Love it. But I'm gonna tell you right now, I'm just gonna show up on Sunday. But he was like, yeah, I got this. Can we try it out? I'm like, oh, dude, I'm like beyond busy my whole life. I don't know what to tell you. I'm sorry. But this guy was hardcore, and I super respect that, and that's awesome. You should play in the CPL because You may lose like the first couple of games because it's tough and it's an adjustment, but if you keep learning, kind of like you did now, you practice, you keep learning, you'll be really, really good at it. So I would suggest actually Sharkster, maybe try out the CPL. Anyway, shuffle mode, like I said, it's not. I don't think it's good for a one-off, but if for like an extended game, if you know you're gonna play the full length of a game, so like not how we do it, where we end at midnight for a score victory, but like if you're playing science victory, culture victory, blah 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 blah, that's where it gets better, because then it's more about the consistent output of science and the consistent output of culture that you need to get all of the trees in order to cover all of your bases. And so that's kind of I like it. Like, I do genuinely like it. I like the randomness and the willingness to adapt, but it's hard to adapt when you only have 4 hours.
Yeah, like at least all of us had the same trees, right? So the same immediate ones, because we opened them up and we saw, yeah, we all have the same options. But I don't know if that affects anything, like that. If other people don't have prerequisites, things won't be open. But I know at least like at each stage, like we opened it and it said, yeah, we all have the exact same policy ones available to us.
No, that would be messed up if it was like random.
If it was totally random. Yeah. But yeah, like in that particular game, you know, Russia and Grand Colombia and I think even Scotland, they all have later era military units that we were not able to rush to. Which, you know, if Cossacks were on the field and you add to that you don't have to worry about people attacking you, that might have been a pretty devastating situation there, that you might have wanted to have science a little more. I think that's military science for you as well.
It's the exact same thing as you. Yeah, we unlock it at the same time. Yeah,
and that would have been fun though too, is if you and I were having fights, Cossacks versus Lunaro, like, you know, that would have been a really interesting scenario.
Weird. So Lunaro doesn't get like the base boost to their combat strength, whereas Cossacks do. So they get like a +7. So you need to have at least 3 Lunaros to like in order to kill like one Cossack, hypothetically.
It's because we also have commandants with us. So in theory, the commandants are coming along. I believe they give you a +10. +4. I think +4 is if there's a Lunaro beside it.
Also gives +4.
But I think the commandant's +4. Even if it is, the critical component is when you use one. If you trigger its ability, not only are their abilities amazing, things like everyone gets +4 or you get another round of attack, but it heals 100% all the units within all the Lunaros in a range. So we would have, yes, your units might have been stronger, but mine are going to probably have, I think mine are lower maintenance too, and they have no prerequisite. I don't think even horse, or maybe horses.
I think horses. It doesn't say anything about that. So I think it's horses.
The one thing that sucks with them, I don't know about the Cossacks, but the Lunaros do not upgrade from knights. You have to build them separately.
They're light cavalry, right?
Yeah. Or light cavalry, whatever it is.
So knights are heavy cavalry. So they
whichever it is, like, whether they're heavy cavalry or light cavalry. I had them both in a game. It didn't let me upgrade them. They're like a unique unit. So that's what I found.
Challenge that one. Because I think it's like cuirassiers or something like that. Like it's like the medieval,
I thought they were heavy cavalry.
I don't know.
But either way,
I'd like to challenge that one. But
you're going to challenge it, so that's fine.
That's fine. I don't think that's true. But
I think it is. But what do I know?
What do you know?
What do I know?
What about apocalypse mode? Now that like we finally revisited apocalypse mode after replaying it maybe once or twice, hating it, and never playing it again. Now we played it again. I think Zoe. I don't think Zoe's ever gonna play this mode ever again. I think this guy. I think he's had enough of it. I think he's done with it.
It was devastating, but only because I think very uniquely Russia is broken for that. It's not a fair city play. It becomes triple S tier. Because it'll almost always start in tundra, and because of how devastating the effect is, and because they earned so much faith, they are effectively immune to invasion. Also, if you're beside them, they're going to use it at their border and just let it roll over to soften up all your cities. And then once they conquer your cities, now they're immune to it, so they'll keep doing it. it just creates a scenario that you know, I think they can keep pace with it too. Like even with even every time you buy it, it gets more expensive, but they're earning so much faith that I think they can keep pace with it. They might even do a couple missions to
upgrade it, right? I didn't get a chance to do that, but I wish I did. I wish I did. Yeah.
So I do have an answer for the Linero.
Yeah.
So according to Civipedia, the Corsair does upgrade to it.
Okay, then I messed up in a in one of my computer games. I just must have built the wrong one. But either way, like they're super cheap. Like 3 maintenance, like is incredible.
2 versus
2
5.
maintenance.
2 maintenance. Yeah, they're
2 maintenance. Wow.
3 maintenance. It's such
Crazy.
an insane unit. Why not give Grand Columbia just give them the bank? Like just give them the whole bank. It doesn't matter.
So you know that that might have made a difference if I could have gotten to military science, but unfortunately, you know, I had rifling. It didn't matter. It didn't come up because how the shuffle works is it'll get to a bottleneck, and then you have to get that right bottleneck, and if you don't, you have to keep going until you get the bottleneck, and then
he dropped out. We're off topic though. We were trying to talk about apocalypse mode, and then they went back to shuffle mode. But yeah, he's right. The bottleneck. So go ahead, keep going with your bottleneck.
So yeah, it bottlenecks down. And then once you get the bottleneck, it'll open up a whole bunch of new ones. I think that game, this is the first bottleneck for tech. It was the astrology, and then once we got astrology, it opened up all the next wave of them. So that was frustrating, not being able to. I don't know if it would have made much of a difference in that game, because if I got them, you would have got them. But I like to think that a movement of 6, you know, I might have been able to do something with such a powerful unit.
7, you get 7 movement.
7 movement.
Yeah, they're super fast.
Yeah, they're broken. They're so broken.
We didn't get there though. We didn't get to see them. So that made it very, very frustrating. I think like
the reason why I love Monero is just as an aside, because I love Grand Columbia is not my favorite civ, right? So is like you know, when we first started the show, I had made the mistake of like spamming like one unit. I didn't have a balanced army.
Right.
I always built like melee units and stuff. Lineros, you can successfly just spam them because having more of them just makes them stronger.
But you spammed them when I was playing not Inca. Yeah, it was Inca. It was Inca. And I spammed pike and shots, and you took 0 cities. I remember that.
Well, no, well, you still need siege equipment to take cities, but like what I mean is like the pike and shots weren't like obliterating them.
They were just holding the fort down. That's it. They were just standing there.
But they're supposed to be the hard counter. That's the thing, right? They're supposed to be a hard counter.
The only way.
Yeah.
Right.
So
but like, so what I mean is like you didn't like I didn't spam them and then you just turned around and crushed me and then took over my cities or something.
Fair point. Point.
That map also was super lacking in niter, at least in my area. I don't know if you guys found the same thing.
I had niter.
I had 1 niter mine, and then I built another city to get a second one, and that slowed me down considerably. Not having a lot of niter.
I had 1, and then I built a city that had 3, and then VectorCat burned it down. So
and then VectorCat
it didn't
burned
matter.
it down.
It didn't matter.
Well done.
The one city I didn't have walls in, and it was
I thought for sure you were,
and I'm like,
I thought for sure you were gonna say
city.
I had niter and I built an improvement and then I made a blizzard and I destroyed it.
No, no, their improvements are immune to blizzards too. That's what's so good about Russia.
Oh yeah.
Everything's immune to it except weirdly enough. So the buildings within the districts are not immune to it, but the districts themselves are immune to it. It's really strange. But we were talking about apocalypse mode. Russia's really broken.
Russia's
they're
broken. Obviously, the Grand Bath thing. You know, if you do exploit it, that is so silly. Like I played a practice round. It's like, how high can I get this? And it's just like one city was generating like 200 faith.
I laughed though.
That can get pretty silly.
I laughed when I looked back at China with the Great Bath. I'm like, I wonder how this is doing. Like, hey, dude, how's it going with this thing? I look at it, and along the river that it's built on, it has 1 tile that is only generating faith. Because the rest of them were completely taken over by other wonders.
Right.
And I'm like,
he ended up.
why did you build this? Like, what was the point?
Well, you have to understand, when you're China, you build wonders. That's what China does. You build
That
wonders.
is what China. That's not one of their listed, like China hits.
It's just funny.
But,
it was just funny. I laughed. It was like it worked out because then he used all of his wonders for adjacency bonuses for theater squares. But it was just one of those moments of like, we rushed that. Our plan was to rush this, and we're not even using it. So I'm like, that was kind of funny. I thought that was.
But if an exploit like that, you stop someone else from using it, so it still did something.
Like if I had gotten it, I probably would have used it. And I was on turn 1. Like it was one of those. Like I cut down 3 trees, 3 forests, and I was on turn 1. I was like 1 turn away from building it, and he built it first. Which was fine. I didn't cry about it. I just built a settler. I had nothing else to build. That was my mistake, though. I shouldn't have even bothered. I should have been doing the plan, which was honestly fast, swift military conquest, which in hindsight would have been really boring for our neighbors, Ruby and Nystagmus. But yeah, that was a mistake on my part. I should have been conquering wonders, not building them.
So let's take a break, and we're going to come back with some community questions. However,
wait, before the break.
However, yeah, go for it.
Before the break, okay. So Moy, I have to hand the crown to you, and I dub thee the great champion of the civilizations, and as such, I award you the right to choose our next game mode, under the stipulation, though, that I will be selecting the map, and Nystagmus will be deciding if we'll have any AI opponents.
Under the stipulation. Are you really going to give the viewers the belief that you have that power?
I am going to give them the belief that I, the past king, and the magical powers don't get received until I declare aloud the map we will be playing on. Or do you? Well, I guess
no. That is how we worked it out. So it's
should I declare the map? Let me declare. So we will, because it was just such an example of a stunning Moy victory. I'm going to remember season 1 where a very cocky, arrogant, I think I was Indonesia, basically presumed the presumption that I controlled the 7 seas, and I was given a rude awakening when a swarm of sea dogs came and turned all my boats against me. So in honor of that, to my new king, I have selected an archipelago as the map that we will be playing on for whatever crazy idea that I have no idea what you're going to say.
No idea.
For what we do for the Beyond the map. So, King of Kings, what do you have in store for us for Sunday?
This is going to be a fun one, because this is going to be the first time that the hosts are not choosing their own civilization.
What?
I know. So,
subtle, Zoe. So subtle.
I know. Man, it's like you never knew the whole time. So, in a humble way for us to say thank you for the people who participated in our community day, we're going to let those 3 choose the civs for their partners. So in my case, Sharkster is going to choose the civ that I am going to play for this next map on Archipelago.
Vector Cat, you get to choose for me, man. What am I playing on this Archipelago map?
Yeah.
And then
Ruby will choose.
Minister Ruby.
I thought that was kind of obvious. Like I was choosing.
I don't know. The cues.
Like there's no.
We didn't do the high sign. We didn't do the high sign.
Hey! Nystagmus, it's your turn.
High sign.
And my partner, Luminescent Ruby, will be choosing my civ. I already have an idea what she'll probably choose, but we'll see.
There's one.
I have an idea what Vector Cat's going to choose.
There's one restriction to this. You can choose any civ. It doesn't have to work in the water. It can work in the water. It really doesn't matter. If you want to see memes, then pick a meme. That's fine. But the only restriction that we ask is that it was not featured in the last game. So no Russia, no Grand Colombia, no Australia, no Scotland, no Germany, no China. Those are the 6 you cannot choose. Otherwise, free game. Choose the worst civ. Choose the best civ. Whatever you want to see in the game, completely up to you guys. So we're gonna give you until the end of the podcast. If you're here in the chat, if you're not, then you can tell us later. But we're gonna give you to the end of the podcast to choose. So think about it, and we'll let you know when we are taking those requests from you guys. So we're gonna take a break, and then we're going to get to some community questions, because this is probably one of my favorite times of the podcast. I don't know about you guys.
I like handing the crown. Oh wait, no, I don't like that. I like getting the crown. I like getting the crown. That's my favorite.
You're not gonna get it.
That's a new custom now. We gotta. Can you do that special effect for next time? And then I'll.
There's no point because it's gonna stay on me anyway.
Most of the time it'll be on me, but you know, make it so there's some magical effects. I'll get my people working on that. How hard can it be?
How hard can it be? All right, let's take a break. We'll be right back.
All right.
Welcome back to the Civ Show podcast, where we suck so you don't have to. It's time for community questions. Favorite time of the podcast, baby. And we got some good ones for you. But if you have one live in our Twitch chat right now at twitch.tv/TheCivShow, go ahead and ask it right now. It's totally cool. If we have time, we will get to your question. First question from Sharkster. In the September update, another new game mode is being added. What would you guys like to see as a new game mode? I'll start since I kind of asked the question here. I would like to see, and it kind of almost ties into something that we have talked about as a little perk for our viewers, is having secret missions for each civilization, and it gives you just extra score, or it gives you extra science, or it gives you like a free district. It basically just objective based missions that reward you in game. So it could be find at least 5 goodie huts, and you go around, you find 5, and you get 100 gold, 100 extra gold, and then it gives you a next objective. Okay, now build a campus with at least a +4 adjacency. And you kind of scatter around, settle around a mountain, +4 adjacency, you get plus 50 or plus 200 one-time science. Like, boom, there you go. I would like to see that as a game mode. I'd kind of call it like, just call it like, I don't know, missions, something boring. Private missions, private eye.
It's an interesting play, especially if it was kind of like how computers have secret agendas.
Almost.
You know, I could act, or even if they did a spin like that give humans a secret agenda. But yeah, secret mission.
Yeah, interesting. Or even if it randomizes the agenda, like nobody has an agenda, no leader has an agenda. So the agendaless game mode, everybody just goes. Although that would, from what I've learned about how the AI works in Civ, that would break the AI. But
probably
it'd be a cool thing to add as well. So that's my answer.
Missions. I'll go next. Even though like you just opened me up to an idea of like being able to somehow make a custom Civ might be fun. I would say I really still like logistics, and I think it would make a perfect game mode where beyond just maintenance, that you have to actually maintain supply lines and that communicate lines of communication as well. That there's some kind of bonus in game for having good communication, and there'd be a bonus for bad communication. It could affect things like movement or attack rating or what have you, and that you can do things like lay telegram lines and stuff like that. Just like when I look at like actual human infrastructure that they sort of just don't bother with in Civ, things like laying a telegraph line. You know, that was a big deal. That was like something that the civilizations that did that, those that laid like the railroad network, you'd lay the telegraph line with it though. That was a big undertaking. It was really important. You know, getting a wire across the ocean, a cable across the ocean was a big deal. So something like that.
Is anyone play a game called Rise of Nations?
No.
Yeah, I remember Rise of Nations.
So I know in Civ, you can build supply lines, like supply convoys, but that's just to help you feel better in enemy territory. Yeah. In Rise of Nations, you need to build supply lines because your units would actively die in enemy territory.
Like hunger, probably, right?
Yeah. Right? And Russia actually, their attrition bonus was like really high. Like I actually had a time where I tried to run an army to a city and it died before it got there.
Wow.
Just from attrition. And so maybe that they could play that into like Zoe's idea, which is, you know, we build this. You can build those supply convoys, but you don't necessarily need them. You can overwhelm the enemy, really. But if there's attrition just for being in enemy territory, when you're at war, then that would make it so that supply convoys are like necessary to even continue the campaign.
Yeah, like, and I think it'd be like a district that would do it, and it would be beyond roads. You know, that is, and at first it might just be communication networks or just like horses or pigeons or whatever, and then eventually you go to telegraph and then to cable and then to satellites and stuff like that.
I would do it like so similar to Apocalypse Mode, where it introduces like this unique unit. So there's a unique unit inside this inside your game mode. We'll call it the picnic basket. Why not? Whatever. I don't care. We're going to call it the picnic basket. And basically, you have to purchase it with gold, we'll say, because sometimes people don't go faith, so we'll say gold. Especially if you're Congo, you can't get faith. So you purchase it with gold, and in order for you to supply rations to your front line, you need to send a trade route from one of your cities to the picnic basket. And then when it gets to the picnic basket, it has like a 10 tile radius of every unit within this tile is now fed. And as long as there's one supply line going to that picnic basket, then your units are fed and you're not losing health every turn.
Yeah, something like I think Civ 3 had something like outposts that might have been, I can't remember, it was such a long time ago, but like instead of a picnic basket, I'd probably call it an outpost.
Sure.
But there would definitely be picnic baskets there. And then like something that might be neat about an outpost, or even if forts had this function, might be that over time a fort or an outpost might just turn into a city, because that's how a lot of cities started. You know, if you look at like even like in the Roman Empire, a lot of cities, they were Roman forts, and then they became cities over time, as I'm sure Nystagmus can attest to.
Interesting that you say that, though, because that's exactly how it works in humankind.
Right? Yeah, they were essentially planned as well. Like they were, you know, every Roman city had like a specific building and stuff. And then, so is it my turn now?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, yeah. So I'm gonna go with, I'm gonna see if I can actually predict something that they're gonna do. So far the game modes that they've added have been adding more chaos to the game. Right?
True.
Everything has been adding more chaos to the game. So no shuffle mode, apocalypse mode, things like that. I'm wondering if they'll add like a game mode. I don't know what they would call it, but where, you know how you always advance in science and you get to a certain step, you can never go backwards. If they made it so you can go backwards, if like disasters would make you like lose
lose knowledge. That's interesting. That's interesting. So sort of like the Dark Ages.
Yeah, like so like if like a massive disaster destroyed a bunch of your campuses, or you lost like a specific number of science from damage, you would actually lose technology.
Regression mode. That's really fascinating.
And then I like whether or not you can actually go from one age back to another age. So like you go to like the Renaissance era, and then like something really bad happens, and then like and especially if you're playing on apocalypse mode, how bad would this be? Like no one can actually get to the end of the game by like turn 250 or something, but like you keep going backwards.
Or even that certain civs might continue going on, and it's just like, well, no, you're the one that's still in the medieval era. We're in the industrial era.
Yeah, it could be like if you reach a dark age, then you lose like 3 technologies, or if you get a golden age, then you get 3 technologies.
You gain,
or like
you regain
science, or like
regain technologies or something. I think that'd be really neat.
That would be cool.
I think that would also like make people tear their hair out and like.
Of course.
But it also put an emphasis on dark.
That's what the modes are. They make you want to quit.
That's why I'm thinking like, what other wrench can they throw into this that some people are gonna like, and then other people are gonna be like, no, and they start bashing their keyboard or whatever.
Let's give a mode that makes Russia unstoppable.
Yes, love it.
And so that's what I'm thinking. Like maybe there's a mode that they're gonna do, like where you can actually go backwards, and the game doesn't just march forward no matter what.
I like that.
I like that. Let's move on to the next question. Zoe.
Me.
You pick a question from the bench.
All right, this is another Sharkster question, and people just ask questions, and it won't all be Sharkster, or we'll have to just turn this to Sharkster's questions.
Sharkster's
challenge questions.
Sharkster's challenge. Sharkster's quest. Remember Fester's Quest? Anyone play Fester's Quest? It's a great game.
No.
The old Nintendo. I like this one. What Native American tribe or nation would you like to see added, and what do you think their unique unit district improvement would be? So I'm going to field this one, and I'll open. I'm quite a fan of Canadian history, as is Nystagmus, but I don't have any sort of university backing for it. I did get like 98% though in my Canadian college class. So. But no, like I used to watch like Canada's People's History just for fun. I would love to see Tecumseh's Confederation, or like the North American Confederation, or I think he was a Shawi.
I know what you're talking about.
A Shawi leader. So I would love to see a North American Confederacy, and with Tecumseh as the leader. The one kind of neat thing about the Tecumseh's Confederacy, or the North American Confederacy, was that they had they had a countercultural revolution, where basically they said things like anything that was European was evil and witchcraft, and their own sort of reverse witch burning sort of thing. But there was a big counter, so it was like countering Christian missionaries and countering. So I would imagine that they would end up being able to have, I wouldn't say like the Spanish's special unit, like the Conquistador or whatever, or the not the Inquisition, but something where whenever somebody converts a city, they get a bonus that ends up resulting in them. So kind of like a native, an indigenous sort of faith, North American, that somehow faith is incorporated into it, and it is to counter not just people's faith, but other people, like counter rock bands and stuff like that, being able to counter civilian. Wow. So a specific thing for targeting civilian units, to keep them out after the fact, though. It might be that it doesn't trigger until after, so people would know, hey, if you leave me alone, this part of my ability won't trigger. I would imagine that maybe they have something along the lines, like the leader Tecumseh might have something where you can use faith to purchase barbarians, which wouldn't be barbarians, just be obviously a disgruntled tribesman or whatever, that they can unite. So I'd like to see something along those lines.
Maybe if you kill a barbarian, it has a chance to come to your side.
Or even something like along those lines. Yeah. And then the Confederacy itself would have something probably to do with governments. So I would imagine maybe something like the diplomatic building, when you build it, gives you an extra government slot, or so they'd get a special building that gives them a bonus wild card, but it wouldn't be till a little bit later. So yeah, like I'd like to see an indigenous tribe that is faith, but not like the Cree where it's like trade and alliances and stuff like that. Maybe more of a network just for them, and that it has a counter revolution, counter culture, counter faith ability. So yeah, Tecumseh's Confederacy.
I like
That's what I'd like to see.
That was actually really awesome. That was like balanced. It was a balanced suggestion. It wasn't like completely blown out of proportion. I can actually see that being a civ, like dead on, no changes necessary. It's pretty good. I like it.
Thank you.
Yeah. So mine's gonna be a little bit less original. I'd like the Iroquois to make their return. Okay. They were in Civ 5.
They were, so weren't they?
They were. So their unique unit could still be the Mohawk Warrior, as it was in Civ 5. The Longhouse could be their unique unit district, like it was, or unique tile building, as it was in. And I would say that Mohawk Warrior and then the unique Longhorse, I wouldn't make it like a district. I would make it a tile improvement that gives you production on tiles that normally wouldn't give you as much. So you could put them anywhere, like on plains or hills, and they can give you extra production. And then I just think the Iroquois were really interesting. They're a really interesting confederacy as well. So there are 6 tribes that confederated together. Actually had a remarkably advanced government.
Yeah.
And they didn't have writing yet. Their languages weren't written languages; they were spoken languages, and so they had like a constitution and stuff that was like an oral constitution. And people don't know this, but the founders of the United States Constitution based a lot of the ideas of their constitution on the Iroquois kind of model that they had, and how they actually all came to peace. There were a bunch of tribes that were separate, and they all came to peace. They used to fight with each other quite a bit, and so I like to see the Iroquois make their return back to Civ.
I like that too, especially since they're already implemented, so it seems like it would be a lot easier. Again, me not being the history dude, so like our motto, like 2 history dudes and 1 tech guy. Guess who the tech guy is. So I'm gonna go off my limited knowledge here. I'm not gonna ping King Tut. Don't worry, it's gonna be a little bit different. but it may be just as stupid, and I'm not really sure. So I'm gonna go off of the history that I know, and the only real other indigenous tribe that I know is the Métis. So the Métis was a indigenous cross French tribe. It would be led by Louis Riel. Now, let me kind of pitch something, and I don't know if this is historically accurate, but tell me if I'm wrong, because this is kind of what I remember. Don't make fun of me. I'm the tech guy. Louis Riel was rebellious, right? He didn't like the government.
Red River Rebellion.
Yes, and so that's what
he was imprisoned for it.
Yes, and so I would kind of try to play something on that. So it could be like, what I had in mind was Louis Riel can get a bonus whenever he changes governments. So when he goes from autocracy to oligarchy, just give him there's a little bonus, right? You get like +1, I don't know, some trade route. That might be too valuable, but like +1 or plus whatever something. Or alternatively, you can have it where he can just freely switch governments. This one wouldn't be as good, but you can freely switch without going into anarchy. So you can just go back and forth and switch between whatever government you want.
I think another cool ability would be, if you ever were to flip cities via culture, they wouldn't become free cities and then convert to him. They would just immediately convert.
Oh, so exactly
kind of like the
Eleanor's.
French.
Yeah, exactly like Eleanor's. You can, like, why not? There's no reason why only one person can have that ability. That could be one too. As far as their unique unit or the unique building, I honestly, that's where my knowledge ends. So that's all I got. You guys probably know more than I do.
Maybe even something like the River Rebellion, and it might be something like you can force another civ to remove a policy card, like lose access to a policy card. Maybe that might be neat.
So they attack other governments.
To actually attack the government as opposed to, so it's more of a strategic maneuver.
That is sick. I love it.
For so many turns, or even if it was like a special unit that did that, like you use a general, just like that.
See, that would be a good one to add in a New Frontier Pass, when almost it seems like every civilization is completely ridiculous, like Grand Colombia and like Ethiopia. That would be a good one to add and have a completely ridiculous one. Like they can remove a policy card from a government. What? Maybe for like 10 turns or something, but like that would be so powerful. It would be so good. I like that. So you're coming up with really good ideas today.
Civ, Fraxis, Civ, whatever, if you're watching, I'm here. Sid, give me a call. Okay,
I ordered his book.
Get me on your team.
Did you order his book?
I saw that.
Yeah,
I saw that. You know what? I think I might get that book. Sid Meier's is indirectly influenced me, even though, like, when you look at the history of him and the game, he actually, I think around Civ 3 just became like a consultant.
Yeah. He wrote the first one though all himself. I think all himself, or like mainly him. It
was him and another gentleman. But it is an interesting history. But yeah, in the end, like the main philosophy though that stuck from Civ Meier's was the 1/3, 1/3, 1/3. That every new game would have 1/3 the same, 1/3 improvement, and 1/3 new. And that's why Civ has, throughout from Civ 1 to 6. There are still some things that are always the same, and then there are things that they make better, and then there are things that are like districts that make me think Civ 5 is horrible and I could never play it again. And why would you play it? And everyone that defends Civ 5, I'm just like, you don't know Civ, okay? That's not an opinion, that's a fact. No. We're going to calls on that one.
All right, so
Civ 6 isn't canon.
What?
You choose a question.
So I am going to take a non-Civ, really kind of end out. I think it's always good to end off on maybe a little bit more lighthearted kind of conversation and stuff like that. So I also chose a Sharkster question, although most of them are Sharkster questions because he just keeps asking them, but that's good for him.
Yeah, it's good questions. I mean, damn.
So can Steven Spielberg make a bad movie?
Oh, yes, he can.
Yes, he can.
And so I can try to answer first. I would argue it depends on the situation, because I look at it as like all of films. He's known for like really good classics, right? So Jaws, right? Jurassic Park, Close Encounters of the Third Kind, Schindler's List, right? Yep. All these things, right? Now, I know that people may not agree with me on this one, but I don't care. I was really excited about the Indiana Jones movie, the one with the crystal skull.
That's my one as well. Of the piece of dumpster fire garbage.
And so, and I'll tell you guys the story about when I went to go watch. I watched this on the premiere day, right?
Oh wow!
And I think people thought I knew the thing and I spoiled it when I blurted this out in the middle of the theater. But so the game, and spoilers, but it's been out for 12 years, so whatever. Screw you guys. He is taken to a place, and the Russians who captured him ask him for, what did you tell us that crate you found in New Mexico? And the story is based in 1957. So this happened at the very first 20 minutes of the movie, and I actually said in the theater, I was like, wait a minute, 1957, so 1947 New Mexico, and I blurted out, oh, don't tell me there are stupid aliens in this movie. I just blurted it out completely in the middle of the theater. Because the thing with the other Indiana Jones ones is that, yes, he did do myths, but they were real myths. So the Last Crusade, with the chalice and stuff like that, Raiders of the Lost Ark, these things actually exist and they're in the mythos, right? This movie made up its own mythos about, I think they did it because of 2012, right? They wanted to talk about the Mayans because 2012 was coming, and they just wanted to just throw it in there.
Yeah, good point.
And so I was just like, okay, so they want to make it so that's 2012, and the Mayans were somehow influenced by these, not even aliens. They ended up throwing another curveball. They're trans-dimensional beings of some kind. And the treasure is knowledge. But then I said that, that's basically the story of El Dorado, right? But that wasn't necessarily a Mayan myth, right? It was more associated with the Incan Empire, with the gold and the city of gold and everything. And so there are a lot of things that I guess they just kind of made up a myth, but there are so many good myths surrounding South American civilizations that they could have gone with. They didn't have to go like that. And then they also started just throwing in random stuff these giant ants that don't actually exist, and stuff like that. So
mind you, Indiana Jones is not 100% based in zero magic. Most of them have a supernatural component. There is magic. But I mean, Indiana Jones.
But they've already been ingrained into the mythos, right?
Yes.
The idea behind the Lost Ark is already ingrained into our mythos, and same with the Last Crusade. There's been stories and poems written about looking for the Grail. Whereas this one was just okay, so it's about this, and there's a new History Channel episode called Ancient Aliens, so let's just do that. And not saying it's aliens, but that's basically what they did, right? Now the story behind it was annoying. Now, did I still think it captured kind of the Indiana Jones feel? I did, because Harrison Ford is Indiana Jones, and so I did feel it still had that feel to it. So it was still overall kind of enjoyable, I guess, in certain parts, but the overall arching theme was kind of weird. And also, some people will say that it's not Indiana Jones unless he fights Nazis, right? He has to fight Nazis. That's who he has to fight. And so that was kind of it. But,
at least they went with the Cold War, the Russian enemy. That was following World War II. That was the next big one. But yeah, he survived a nuke. Okay.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Survived the nuke. That's cool. All right, kids, just remember, if there's ever a nuke, just jump in the fridge.
The best part is when they try to just explain it away, when they purposely not subtly showed you that the fridge is lined with lead, as if that somehow explains away
what
how
about
he survived.
Concussive force? Even if that was true, he was flung through the air, he would have been splattered. And honestly, the other thing that kind of bugged me about that movie is it really did not need Shia LaBeouf, and that was dumb. And because that would have been okay, you're not the next Indiana Jones. If you're the next Indiana Jones, I don't want to watch this ever again.
Never.
Don't give me any passing of I like the tip to Sean Connery at the end, at the wedding or whatever. The hat blew off, and when he was talking about his dad or something like that. That was okay, but yeah, Shia LaBeouf, no, that was stupid. That whole art. I like actually that they did have, his woman from the first one. That was interesting, but that wrong choice. Wouldn't have accepted that as passing the torch. I don't know who it would be, but it would not be him. Transformers kid, no.
This was before his like breakdown, though. This was
even back then, I never thought I never thought
like, this
too
was
highly
his
of
like he just came out with Transformers, right? He was like a big deal. He was a hit, right? So
just do it.
That was like in 2012 that came out, man. That was 4 years later.
Whatever.
Anyway.
Whatever. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. That movie made me sick. And I remember being how disappointed I was watching it, and how I thought the only thing that vindicated it was the South Park episode that was based on it. They're raping him. They're raping him. And they kept this joke going for a while, and you had no idea. What are they talking about? What is this they're talking? And then you find out, like, and I think it was like a few episodes in that they went on and they were all having these bad dreams. Like, what is it? What caused it? And then you find out, you're like, oh, and you're like, yeah, that's how I feel. The pinball machine scene, like, oh my god. So that was the only vindication, I think, that made that movie good.
But yeah, just for the sharks. So yeah, that would be my thing now.
That was all of ours. Yeah. I mean, damn.
Although like almost every other movie he's ever made is like really good. Like Hook has like a special place in my heart just for nostalgia purposes. I know if you look back on it now, it's kind of like, kind of corny and cheesy and stuff, but don't care.
Yeah, I mean,
don't care. I look back on that. And I'm
Hook
like,
was good.
That's part of my childhood.
I wasn't a huge fan of Ready Player One. I'll be honest.
Oh my god, I was just about to say I really loved Ready Player One.
Really?
I thought it. I did. I really liked it. I really liked it. I thought it. There's just something about it that I think it captured really well.
It captured the book pretty good.
It had lots of cool nostalgia in it, and just it's such a believable near future. And it's like what we're seeing now. You take a great thing and like we can cover 65% of the vision with ads. I just thought it hit so many things that I really liked. I thought like really good Spielberg movie.
That's fair. For me personally, it was just I wasn't a huge like it wasn't necessarily the those kind of elements I didn't like. It's just I came out of it like it was okay. You know what I mean? Like
there's one other movie that is kind of like someone said, and so this is the joke that everyone knows. We know how we made fun of Raiders of the Lost or the Crystal Skull.
Yeah,
is because Spielberg likes to throw in aliens for like no good reason sometimes, and he did it in AI. He did it in AI. Like it was just thrown in at the end for like no good reason.
Now those were supposed to be advanced AI though, wasn't that the whole thing? That those were like just AI, thousands of years in the future.
No, they like straight up said they were aliens, and they were doing they were doing like an archaeological dig. Like,
I thought that they were supposed to be AI from the future.
No, they were aliens. And that was like one thing where a lot of people were upset because Kubrick was directing that movie before he died.
Right.
And then you can tell like the first part of the movie is very like Kubrick-esque. Like it's got the symmetry and all that stuff, right? And then Spielberg takes over like when the movie's almost done and just throws in all this random stuff at the end that makes like the aliens were not needed, right? At all. Like they were like completely like superficial to the plot. It was like just kind of like to give him hope because it was all like a game to the company that made him. And then at the end, you're like, oh yeah, by the way, he gets to spend one more day with his mom because we can clone her because we're aliens. Because we can
but only for one day. Right. Only for one day. Let's we haven't perfected it. 24 hours.
Yeah, let's turn this into like a Cinderella thing where like he gets to spend one more day with his mom or something like that.
Like I think that the Kubrick where he died, I think was the scene where there's a rule like after 10 years, there's no such thing as spoilers. Where he enters the warehouse, or whatever, and sees all the other Davids, and that's like the whoa, clusterfuck. And I think that was probably where Kubrick died. And that would have been great to end the movie right there. It's like, yeah, your journey was pointless, and you're one of millions, and humanity is evil. Like credits.
Yeah.
Really quickly, let's wrap up here. But really quickly, favorite Indiana Jones moment in any movie. I'll start because I kind of threw you guys off the question. My favorite part was learning that Harrison Ford had diarrhea on the scene where he had to fight this really evil dude, and he's like doing all the sword
that was
tricks.
awesome.
And he's like, wah, 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 and he just takes out his gun, shoots him, walks away because he had to shit.
Yeah, that was.
It's always funny to find out like behind the scenes like why they did it a certain way, and then it ends up being like a classic scene.
So good, so good. That's my favorite moment of all the Indiana Jones scenes.
You go next.
That's probably one of my favorite moments too. But my other favorite moment, and it's also from Raiders of the Lost Ark, mainly because that's the best one.
That's the best one.
In my opinion, I like Last Crusade a little bit, but because Sean Connery, I like Sean Connery as an added benefit in that movie. But I liked when he was fighting the guy and the plane was spinning around. So that fight scene where he's fighting the guy, and then the guy's like going like this, and the propeller blade's coming up behind him, and Indiana Jones just goes like this, and like you just see blood splatter. That was a really good fight scene, I think.
The environment defeated. My best favorite one has to be chilled monkey brains. Chilled monkey brains. We got this delicious dessert. Chilled monkey brains. Like that whole movie was just shock factor after shock factor. It almost reminded me of Always Sunny in Philadelphia, where it's just like, how could they possibly make this like more grotesque, or like how could, and they elevated it because there was a hobo pooping was one of the openings. Anyway, but anyways, Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, the bugs, the eyeball stew, the snakes,
Dr. Jones.
and then the crescendo of like, oh, and by the way, for dessert, chilled monkey brains, and everyone's just like, oh, this is awesome.
Vector Cat says no ticket.
No ticket. Everybody flashing there, from Crusade. So yeah, the shock factor in Temple of Doom, it was just filled with like crocodiles eating you, sure, bugs everywhere. Okay, I'm gonna rip your heart out, Compandino.
That's my second favorite moment. Second favorite moment right there. He rips his heart out.
So that was
the one that
good grotesque.
The scene that gave me nightmares because I have a touch of arachnophobia.
Right, eating the bugs.
No, it was in the Raiders of the Lost Ark when Indiana Jones had like 2 spiders on him, and they knocked it off, and then the other guy turned around and his whole back was just full of spiders. And he had to like knock them all off. Yeah, that like gave me nightmares when I first saw it because I hate spiders.
Yeah, dude, I feel you.
I like the good choice of question there, Nystagmus, because that we got to see the lighter side of the hosts. So, but that leads me to my final question: is if our viewers, our conscripted members, are watching right now, I would love to hear. I think let's see, Sharkster, if you're there, I think we should open with Moy because you should get the first pick, and that would mean that others have to change. Sharkster, who will Moy be playing on Sunday?
While we wait for a response, I want to say.
It always chooses to drop him when he's like in the middle of a sentence too. It's
in the middle, like I think it might be my hand gestures that are making me drop.
Honestly, it might be. I might be when you do the hand gestures, you knock the headphone cord, and maybe that's what.
Nothing to do with that. Nothing to do with that. So Sharkster, can you tell us? Who is Moy playing?
While we wait for a response, I want to remind everybody to follow us on all of our social medias. We're very active on social media. We post a lot of stuff. We post a lot of Civ news. We post who we're going to play on the next Civilization TheCivShow game. And it's just a fun little social media thing that we like to play some jokes on. So if you want to follow us, you can follow us on Twitter and you can follow us on Instagram. We're very active, however, on Twitter. So go ahead, twitter.com/TheCivShow.
Now, the real place, though, has Sharkster answered yet?
Nope. Keep going.
No? Okay. So the real place, though, where all the real action is our Discord. Discord's just a wondrous program. Yeah, but either way, our community is very, very active on Discord. If you're looking for a good, lighthearted conversation with a bunch of really fun people, join us on our Discord. We keep all of our stuff updated. It's very, very community driven. We have challenges and things of that nature, and lots of pet photos. People love a good pet pic. So join us on our Discord if you want the more intimate connection to the Civ Show and the Civ Show community. Yes. Go.
Nystagmus?
Choose. And then, of course, Nystagmus.
Maybe.
What do you have to say, Nystagmus? What do you have to say for yourself,
Nystagmus?
Do
you have anything to add in here, buddy? Like maybe some sort of a, I don't know, this red play button or something, or.
What's a red play button?
I don't know. Tell us about it.
Wait, what? So are we signing off? Like, is that?
No. We're saying if you had a tube to play, did you want to tell us about it?
Oh, well, no, I didn't know we were doing all the social medias, right? I was already sharing it, but you can join us on YouTube. I'll be making my Better Know a Leader series. The last one was Robert the Bruce. A lot of people like that one, actually, as one of the better ones, they think, actually. So check that one out. I will be doing announcing the new leader on Sunday's game for my next video. If you have any ideas for that, please tell me. You have to join our Discord to let me know.
So we have an answer from Sharkster. Are you ready? I don't know if you guys saw it yet, but it's going to be Norway. I'm going to be playing Norway. At least he picked a naval civ. So you know what? Of all the things he could have chosen, this one's not so bad. I'm okay with this one.
It looks like I have a pick ready to go as well. Is Ruby online? I would have said maybe Ruby should have picked next, but okay, that's fine. I don't know why you say I'm going to flip Suleiman of the Ottoman Empire. You mean with the Barbary boats? I think that sounds like a fantastic place.
And that's one of his favorite things.
Yeah, that's a good city.
Bring it on. That sounds fantastic. All right, excellent. It looks like I am going to be via VectorCat. I will be playing the Ottoman Empire led by Suleiman. And is Ruby, are you online? Are you with us, Ruby?
Not
I don't see her in the chat.
Unsure.
If you're text chatting her, can you ask her right now if she wants to choose your civ?
We'll cut the podcast here and we'll just wait. We'll wait. It's cool. If you're on YouTube right now watching this, then fast forward a little bit. Just
yeah, because this is just too fascinating.
I message her on Discord. That's why I missed my my time to talk about.
Oh, when we thought it was part of your running gag of being like, huh?
I am really trying not to be bad at that anymore. So.
I know you don't show a lot of showmanship, but that's the one thing we ask you to do. You have one job, Nystagmus. One job.
One job.
We will fire you off this show.
I have many jobs, and I contribute. I have many contributions.
I know. You're one of the two history buffs. We need you in here. You're the main guy. You're the main history guy. Without you, what are we? We're just two idiots.
Better Know a Leader is a excellent series, I think.
It is an excellent series, and I hope it continues because it is very educational, and that's what we need in our society is good education.
We do. We really do need good education in our society. And because you know the things about history through study and writing papers that were graded, and you know how to do proper research and how to cite that research so that we all know that you didn't just make it up and you didn't copy it, and then you let everyone know about that research in the way you deliver, you better know a leader that often does not receive copyright infringement violations. And when it does receive copyright violation, you smile and say, hey, no problem, just trying to educate and entertain.
Is that like a joke about my last video?
At the same time.
So what's the point here? Are you just buying time right now?
I'm just buying him time. I'm just buying him time to see if we can find out.
Oh my god!
If Ruby has a choice for him to be And even now I'm delaying a little bit more by explaining this choice decision to you guys, for whether or not Ruby might want to tell us that she wants him to be, I don't know, maybe the Mayans
wish
or
that
the Maori.
you can hang her
By elimination, it's got to be per Ruby in the chat here. It's got to be the Maori because
Is that what she
Maori,
said?
Maori or Norway, and Norway is already taken. So
All right, there it
I'll
is.
take Maori.
There it is. There it is, people. That's going to be interesting, especially because I think Norway got a big boost when Gathering Storm came out. Did they not?
Kind of. They were added the Berserker unit, so now they have 2 unique units.
And if you look at the economics of pillaging, it's actually crazy, and it can do
every
much.
LA boat can coastal raid, not just like so I can do it right from the start. I played Norway against Nystagmus. He hated it. He did not have a good time.
He did not have fun.
He did not have fun.
Okay, so we all know my experience. Let's not talk about the Norway experience. I hated that experience.
You know what's going to be funny, though, when you're the Maori on an archipelago map and still somehow start on the land.
Dude,
I swear that's going to happen. It's going to happen, probably.
He's going to have such good
deals. In pure Nystagmus fashion, that is what straight up is going to happen.
Now, I believe there is a twist for this game, and that Nystagmus will be adding a bunch of random civs. I think, would you say 3 random civs?
Yeah.
So there'll be 3 random civ computers, players.
6 city-states.
And 6 city-states, which is a small amount of city-states for the size of the map. So there you go. But I think we're just going to make those random, right? We don't want the community choosing those. They'd be mean.
They're going to be completely random, and someone that we maybe can bully. At least we can each bully one, or we can just maybe team up with some of them. If you're Zone, you want to make allies with all of the CPUs. Yeah, you can do that.
Maybe
pay them a single gold to declare war.
1 gold, all it takes. Most of the time, you declare war on me, everyone declares war on you. That's fair. That's fairness.
All right, guys.
Justice.
Let's wrap up here. We already did the whole social media thing, so we're just gonna say, have yourself a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day.
Good night.
See you guys on Sunday for the next episode of The Civ Show.
See you then.